Hello again, folks. Today I am tremendously excited to show you how I organize my collection of USA stamps. As you may know, I am on a quest to find one of every-ish USA stamp. And I say every-ish because I'm not going to get them all. $4.3 million! Stamp collecting is alive and well, my friends. So in my first How I Organize My Stamp Collection video, and there's a link in the description of this video to that if you've yet to see it, I showed you all my system for storing my finest stamps like this. I use a top loader and a card that I made that allows me to put all of the information on it in order to store and preserve my finest stamps. The drawback to this system is that you're not able to put together a collection in the same way as you can with stock books or with stamp albums. And I am after one of every-ish USA stamp. And in order to know my progress, I use Davos. So the goal of my quest is to have a complete set of Davo hingeless stamp albums for USA from 1 to, I think it goes to 7, with a complete collection of mint never hinged stamps from 1930 on, new stamps from 1900 to 1930, and then quality used stamps from the beginning of American philately to 1900. And once again, I'm going to emphasize, I'm after one of every-ish, because there are some spaces in these albums for stamps that are ridiculously expensive. So today's video is an update on that quest, and I'm also going to show you a couple of tricks that I use for storing stamps that don't have spaces for them in these albums. And along the way, I'm going to tell some stories of my favorite stamps, because when I look at this album, I can't help but geek out, of course. All right, so there's my Scott #1. I love that stamp because my father and I went in on it together. I'll put a link in the description below to that video. One little pro tip, that stamp came with the notice that it had a certificate of authenticity. What I didn't realize is that certificate of authenticity is from Coach Investments Inc., which who knows who Coach Investments Inc. is. So if you're spending good money on a quality stamp, make sure that the organization that is authenticating it is a quality one. Just do your research. All right, so here are my classic USA stamps. I love that 12-cent particularly, as I got it for a song on eBay. Keep an eye out. You can find quality stamps on eBay. You do have to be very, very careful. Buy from trusted sellers. Focus on condition. Onward into 1857. That stamp right there is one of my favorite stamps because I found it in the bottom of a bag. That's one of my favorite parts about stamp collecting, is when you get a bag from Goodwill or wherever full of used stamps. I was sorting through this bag of 1,000 stamps, and on the bottom, with just a handful left, all of a sudden this guy emerged. What a joyful moment. So every time I see that stamp, I think of that. The thrill of discovery is definitely part of philately. Oh, the blackjack. My favorite blackjack with a great cancel on it. And I do like that 1 cent Ben Franklin up there because it's socked on the nose, and it has two colors that it's cancel. There's a little bit of a red along with a black. And my collection of grills. These are very, very expensive stamps that I'm quite proud of. I say one of every-ish because these stamps up here are incredibly rare and incredibly expensive. There is not a place in this book for that $4.3 million stamp, thankfully. But even then, even these different variations of the grills are so expensive that I just am resigned to the fact that I probably won't fill those spaces. I should also mention, going back a page, that spot, I think it is a $90,000 stamp, so I'm not going to fill that gap. What I'm thinking I'll try to do is get a pair of one of the more common 7 or 9 and spread the pair across the 2. And so that's a way of filling the gap with stamps from that series, but not the $90,000 stamp. I love the pictorials. These two, there are variations of these stamps that don't have grills, and they're very, very sought after, very, very rare. I'm pretty sure these two have faint grills, but they're really, really faint if they're there at all. So I've just included them on the off chance that maybe I'll send it into an authenticator to tell me that indeed I do have a grilled stamp. Into the banknotes. These are fun to identify because the next page has secret marks that you need to look for. These guys have porous paper. The best way to identify if your stamp is the one with porous paper is to buy a stamp, a version of it from a dealer, so that you know what porous paper looks and feels like, and then you use that as the benchmark to compare to other ones. I love that cancel. Into the 1800s, late 1800s, and to the best set, in my opinion, in American philately, the Colombians. Along with my $1 new, I sure love that stamp. I'll put a link in the description below to that video. You can see there's a tiny little black mark on the right side of it. That is an inclusion that was caused when the stamp was made. And so it's not technically a defect in the stamp. Some may see it as such, some might not. I don't. That is how it was originally issued, and so I think that's a fine stamp. I love this series so much. That 30 cent is not new, but it is beautiful. But it is new up until the 5. Oh, how cool. Bucket list stamp number 1 is the $5 from the Colombian set. For those of you that have that stamp, feel free to tell the story in the comment section below of how you got it. And if you have bucket list stamps from your own personal collection, drop a comment in the comment section below. Which are the stamps that you are still searching for? Be interesting to hear others' takes on their wish lists. I am moderately into this series. They're not the most attractive of all stamps. And here's a hot take for the video so far. I don't find identifying watermarks as a thrilling part of philately. I find it tedious. And so I tend to focus on stamps that don't cause me to have to look for watermarks. Though I do, it is definitely a part of stamp collecting. I love this. I found this on a stamp hunt. It is a maxi card, is that the right term? Where you have the picture of the stamp and the stamp on it. What's particularly cool about this is it says on the back it's an actual photograph. And so I haven't verified that, but that might actually be one of the actual photographs of the 2-cent TransMississippi picture, which is certainly a part of American history and I find cool. And into the TransMississippi and my top bucket list. It's hard to rank them. But I really want the Western Cattle in a Storm $1 TransMississippi. Oh, I want that stamp so badly. Great evocative scenes throughout this set of the westward expansion and all that entailed. Wonderful set in American philately. Now, moving into the 1900s, I have virtually all of these up until I think the $5, but I have them in used condition. And so when I started my quest, I went through this book and took out ones that were used. And now I will be going back and replacing them with new. That $5 imperf, it's a Lincoln, is incredibly rare and might be one that I don't land. And so again, I might try to find a pair of the 2-cent imperf and spread them across those two. The thing that's so great about an album like this is that I know this is my personal collection. I'm going to have this forever. And so I'm just going to fill this over time. There's no rush. This is just my canvas that I am painting on. And there's no deadline. I am just going to enjoy the heck out of it as I slowly build my collection. And into the Franklin Washington. I've mentioned in other places that these aren't my favorite stamps. I do think it's a very, very enjoyable hobby to try and identify them because there are so many different variations. But like I said, some of it is watermarks. And okay, here's a question for all of you. Identifying watermarks on mint never hinged stamps. What's your approach? Comment section if you're interested. There are some very, very valuable, especially in the mint never hinged state of these stamps. And I've got work to do, in part because I haven't focused on these for the reasons I've already mentioned. I do like the you can get these from the Davo website. They allow you to put stamps into your book that don't have places otherwise within this album. And that's important because the Davo albums do not have a place for every single Scott catalog number, for example, because they're not Scott. And so you can get these little plastic sheets. They're very easy to affix to the page, and that allows you to personalize your album. All right, now we're getting into some of the more common section. Starting on 1930 or so, I am after mint never hinged. So I'm just going to do a quick little flip through to the back of the book section for these guys. I like that page particularly. The Nebraska and Kansas overprints are very sought after. So if you're searching through a bag of USA stamps, one of the things to keep an eye out for is an overprint, Nebraska or Kansas. These are nice and fun to find. All right, now I'm going to take us to the back. Oh, first I'm going to focus on these because I love this set so much. The National Parks stamps from 1934 are beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, now we're going to roll to the back. Starting with the airmails. Wonderful, wonderful stamps. Again, I have these, but they're used, so I'm after the new. And then here is two of my pride and joys. These two I got on my channel, and what fun. I got them in a very creative way. Link in the description below to those videos. So far, I'm about $40 in on my quest, my little side quest to find a complete set of the Zeppelins, and I'm after the big guy. That might be one of my next challenges that I tackle. Again, on the bucket list is the $2.60 Zeppelin. Very, very sought after stamp. And since it's 1930 and over, I am after the new. These are so common, and yet I don't have Mint Never Hinged versions, and so I'm after Mint Never Hinged. All right, on to the back. Here's the back of the book section, special deliveries, postage dues. And what I want to show you that I've yet to on my channel is how I store. I like official stamps a lot. These are very, very cool. Great cancels. I got this set from that eBay trick where you, I'll put a link in the description of that video as well. Ooh, I'm putting a whole treasure trove of links in the video description. But I got this set in, check that. Hold on a second. Maybe it was a different one. It was, because it had a lot of new. As you can tell, I haven't scripted this video. It was this one, War Department. I got this set in eBay purchase for like $30. That whole set of new War Department stamps for like $30. I still cannot believe it. So, so cool. All right, now we're getting, and again, thank you to the wonderful human being that sent me that newspaper stamp. I absolutely cherish it. All right, so here's how I store my revenue stamps. And revenue stamps are fascinating. It's an area of philately that I really think is poised to continue taking off because of the historic nature. I love, you know, that says 1865. That just places you in 1865 USA, you know what's happening in 1865. And I love the old script. These tell such a personal story because they're how someone paid for things, such as there's, find an example here, power of attorney stamps, all kinds of different. Anytime you paid a tax, you could use stamps like these for certain things. They're just fascinating. And so I really think revenue stamps are an interesting part of philately. Here are some of my larger ones. This one I'll showcase for a second. When I started stamp collecting many years ago, I found a box of used stamps, and this one was amongst it. And I looked at it with its script, power of attorney with George Washington. It looks 3,000 years old. And I thought, huzzah, I'm rich. Turns out I'm not. It does not matter how old something is. What matters is how rare it is in terms of value. So that's pretty common stamp, but nonetheless very, very cool. And that's how I store my revenue stamps. Some of the official seals, custom stamps, motor vehicle, some of the larger ones that I didn't have room for elsewhere. If you're interested in oleo margarine, and who isn't, there is a stamp for you. Now, the Confederacy. These stamps are oftentimes counterfeited, and so I don't vouch for these. Some look quite used, like that strip of 3, but just because it looks authentic does not mean it is. And these are facsimiles that were created later, but actually have a Scott catalog number. So if you're after one of every-ish USA stamp, you do need to get the facsimiles as well. And some cool Cinderella stamps, not created for public distribution, or for distribution postally, I should say. The stamp exhibition stamps, philatelic stamps. And then I think these are essays, but I'm not sure. If someone could let me know, that would be great. All right, so there is book 1 of how I store my USA stamps. Let's move on to book 2. So one of the drawbacks of Davo is they are very, very pricey. And it's hard to pay that much money for a stamp album that's going to hold stamps that are worth less. It is. It's tough to do so. It's one of the reasons I've yet to buy Davo 7 and 6. So how I get around that, how I justify it to myself, is that I put these interleave sheets into it and store nice stamps in this book. So there are some little gems throughout this as a way of increasing the value of this collection. I am not going to go page by page through this. I have a complete set of USA Mint Never Hinged stamps from 1969, it looks like. Oh, these are the airmails. From 1969 to 1945. This is a complete collection, and it is a real big joy of philately that you get to complete something. Oftentimes, the projects I work on don't have that sort of instant gratification, or gratification at all. Relatively instant. And so I love, filling the last gap in a page, last gap in an album, in a set. There's a sense of completion to it. I paused here. I want to showcase my favorite stamp of all time, which is the Great River Road. My favorite YouTube video of all time is in the description of this video. And it's the journey I went on to find that specific stamp. Wonderful, wonderful journey. Great video. Please check it out if you'd like to. And here are my 1945 to 1969 USA stamps, all mint never hinged, including a lot of great space stamps. And then here are the little gems that I put in here to increase the value of the book. The tobacco stamps. I find these fascinating. Not that I endorse smoking, of course. But I mean, that's cool. Those are neat. And then these are neat too. Not that these are valuable per se, but I think they're cool. All right, on to books 3 through 5. And these I'm just going to flip through quickly. I still have work to do on my quest to find these, and they're very easy to find. I just haven't had time to focus on them or resources. I'm at a point in my life where I'm conserving funds, and so I'm having to be a little creative in how I buy stamps. But this is where I'm at in my quest to fill my Davo collection. I also really enjoy finding stamps in stamp hunts and going through albums I buy online and whatnot. And so I don't find as much enjoyment and buying individual stamps. Though I know, especially when you're looking for condition and mint never hinged, that is the ideal way to go. I love space stamps. And then in the back of this one, I put some more of the revenue stamps. The documentary stamps are here. I really get a kick out of these documentary stamps. I just do. I think they're very, very cool. They have ships on them, which, you know, if you follow me at all, you know I like ships on stamps. And I just think they're neat. So there's my documentary stamps. And to wrap it up, before I do a couple of pieces of channel news, special thank you to Annie S. for today's cup of coffee. I really, really appreciate it. There are links in the description below to a whole host of things, so check that out. And please do tell us what your bucket list stamps are. What are you after and why? I think that'd be fascinating to hear. And last but not least, here is book 5. I love that stamp. Mars Pathfinder souvenir sheet from 1997. Beautiful. I am very excited to get into the 98 through 2024 stamps, in part because I wasn't collecting stamps back then, so I don't have any of them. I have a few that I found here and there, but it will be a brand new journey for me, so I'm excited for that. I just kind of have to get through the hurdle of, or get over the hurdle of paying $200 for an album, knowing that the stamps inside aren't maybe worth $200, but you know, it's just a hurdle. Trains! Oh, I love that science fiction-y stamp. Very cool, from 1993. Another great space stamp. Ships! And there you go. There's where I am on my journey to find one of every-ish USA stamp. Thank you for joining me for another video. If you enjoyed it, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. It means a great deal to me. Until next time, take care.